Hey, it's Saucy Surge. What's up, Helldivers? Are you struggling against the Automaton forces out there on Cyberstan on Helldivers 2? Yeah, those clinkers honestly have putting in some work. In today's video, I'm breaking down a comprehensive list of weapons, stratagems, and loadouts that I personally like to run during Cyberstan invasion against the Automatons. Builds that actually get the job done, you know? If you enjoy content like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I know these types of videos are getting out there and you guys are enjoying them. And if you got your own loadout suggestions or strategies, drop them down in the comments below. I love to read it all. I appreciate all the love and support, and without too much yip-yap, let's dive in. First up, we're talking about armor, and more importantly, the armor passives. Whether you're a seasoned veteran Helldiver like John Helldiver himself, or you just picked up Helldivers 2 and you don't know the ass end of a rocket launcher, this part honestly does matter. Now, before I tell you exactly what armor to run, here's the key thing. Your armor passive should complete your primary weapon. That's the foundation of these kinds of builds. One of the most versatile passives in the game right now is Siege Ready. And this is exactly what it does. It increases your primary weapon reload speed by 30%, increases total ammo capacity of all weapons by 20%. And honestly, that's huge. What this means is your primary and secondary are both carrying more ammunition and reloading faster. So whether you're running around with something like the CB9 exploding crossbow or the Ultimatum sidearm, you're getting more sustained fire and honestly less downtime. And when you're dealing with waves of cyborgs that want to knee you in the face and endless automaton pressure, that ammo does make a difference. Less reloading, more shooting equals more democracy. Now, Siege Ready comes on a couple of armor sets. You've got the light variant on the Street Scout, which you can get in the Warbond Urban Legends. Also, it has a heavy variant. That's the one I recommend. Why heavy? Because in Cyberstan, you're going to get ragdolled constantly. Blasters, cyborgs, Vox engines. You're getting thrown left, right, up, down, into walls, sometimes, honestly, into the fucking next week, it feels like. The heavier armor gives you that extra survivability, with the battlefield turns into pure chaos. Now, that brings up the second armor passive I strongly recommend, Fortified. Fortified does two things. Reduces the recoil by 30% while crouched or prone, which honestly is a nice bonus, but more importantly, provides 50% resistance to explosive damage. And honestly, that's real value. On Cyberstan, everything explodes. Grenades, Vox engines, stray rockets, random environmental chaos, and the robots themselves. You're going to get blasted around constantly. Fortified doesn't stop the ragdoll entirely, but it dramatically increases your survivability of surviving explosions. Honestly, guys, it's a simple passive, but it is reliable, and honestly, it's one of the most safest armor passive you can run while on Cyberstan. So this is why I recommend it, because honestly, most likely everybody has this armor passive, and it's easy to use. Now, if you're looking for heavy armor with the Fortified passive, as I just stated, you got a few solid options. The FS-55 Devastator, the FS-05 Marksman, the F-23 Battlemaster, and a few other depending on what you've unlocked. Any of these are great choices if you want that 50% explosive resistance and extra survivability against the automatons. Now, let's say you don't have those yet. If you got a medium armor set with the extra padding passive, it simply provides a higher armor rating. That's it. It's a simple fallback passive. It's not that, in-depth guide, crazy stuff. It's just a simple passive, and honestly, it helps a lot. And on Cyberstan, sometimes that tiny bit of extra survivability means the difference between reinforcing and completing the objective. Now, an important side note that I want to make sure everyone is aware of, this week, if you go to your acquisitions and check the Superstore this week, you can pick up the DP8 Mountain scaled armor set in Helldivers, and the big deal is it's a medium armor set that comes with the passive Siege Ready. That means 30% faster primary reload speed and 20% increased ammo capacity across all weapons. Up until now, Siege Ready has only been available on light and heavy armor sets. This is the first time we're seeing it on a medium set, which means you get the balanced mobility, solid survivability, and insanely strong ammo economy boost. If you don't own it already, I highly grabbing it from the Superstore. It's available. Support Arrowhead and all their great creativity that they have done with this game. Now that we're moving on from the passive, let's talk about primary weapons. There's a lot of viable options, but my personal favorite right now, and the one I genuinely recommend, is the Last 13 Trident. On Cyberstan, you're dealing with overwhelming numbers of automatons. Cyborgs, the Last 13 efficiently has infinite ammo, and as long as you manage the heat and don't overheat the coils, you're perfectly fine. You're literally never going to run out of ammunition. It functions almost like a fully automatic shotgun. It fires 6 beams at once. It melts cyborg units, smaller automatons, and trash mobs in general. Laser weapons are feel extremely effective against the cyborgs, and the Trident just clears waves of them with ease. You'll notice throughout the gameplay I'm using it constantly. The biggest advantage, you don't have to worry about ammo. That means I can focus on stratagems, secondary weapon, and utility tools on objectives and heavy targets instead of burning through your secondary or your stratagem weapon on those trash mobs. If you're wondering where to unlock the last 13 Trident, it comes from the newest Warbond, the Siege Breakers Warbond. The second weapon I highly recommend, and one you'll hear a lot of Helldivers talk about, is the CB9 Exploding Crossbow. You can get it from the Democratic Detonation Warbond, and it's popular, honestly, for a reason. This weapon absolutely dominates grouped enemies and taking out objectives. This thing is fantastic for clusters of small automatons, cyborgs. It can one-shot. It can do the automaton fabricators, bulk fabricators, basically anything that benefits from explosive splash damage. It generally clears grouped enemies fast and efficiently. Now, the reason why I don't rank it above the Trident is two main reasons. First is the ammo. Obviously, with the Trident, you get infinite ammo. With the crossbow, you do not. And the second is Cyberstan cyborgs are extremely aggressive. They will literally reenact Jorge Masvidal trying to knee you right in the face before you can even shoot off a crossbow shot. And honestly, you don't want to blow yourself up with the crossbow. So I just find the Trident just that little bit of edge in fighting these smaller mobs. And honestly, the last 13 is more consistent. It wipes out these smaller threats quickly, clears the space around you. Then you can transition to your secondary and use it on the fabricators or the major objectives that you need. Now, guys, I know you're probably screaming down in the comments, oh, I missed this primary weapon, or oh, what about this primary weapon? I understand there's an absolute load of other primary weapons you can use on Cyberstan. I'm just not doing a full deep dive on that type of thing in this video. This is just my personal opinion. If you guys like it, let me know. If you hate it, let me know. Either way, it's my opinion. First up is the R36 Eruptor. This explosive rifle is one of my personal favorites. It hits hard, it has some strong utility. It's excellent for taking down the fabricators and heavier automatons with this gun. The next is the LAS-17 double-edged sickle. Another laser weapon and very strong one at that. It performs very well against the smaller automatons and the cyborg units, and like most laser weapons, managing heat instead of traditional ammo, which gives you, honestly, infinite ammo. As long as you don't overheat the coils, you're practically good. But I just find the Trident with the shooting the 5 beams at once is a lot better than the sickle, but if I didn't have the Trident, I would definitely use the double-edged sickle. Then we've got the VG70 variable. This thing is incredibly versatile because of its alternate fire options. You can unload all rounds at once for a huge burst damage, which essentially lets you one-shot Hulks in the back if you're positioned correctly. At the same time, you can use it effectively against smaller enemies without feeling like it's overcome, and it's flexible, it's adaptable, and it rewards good positioning. But without further ado, let's move on to secondaries. Alright guys, we're moving on to the secondaries, and trust me, we all like to see things go boom. And one weapon I cannot recommend enough is the GP20 Ultimatum. This thing is basically a mini nuke in your hands. It takes 2 to 3 shots to take down a Vox engine, but the real value is the explosion radius and the raw power. Pair this with Siege Ready Armor passive, which will increase your ammo capacity by 20%, and suddenly you're carrying even more destruction. And like I stated earlier, if you're running a supply pack with this build, it's a game changer. The Ultimatum can handle Hulks, Vox engines, fabricators, bulk fabricators, and the emergency oh shit situations. It's versatile, explosive, and solves problems really fast. If I'm running a Cyberstan build, this is probably my secondary, no questions asked. Now let's say you don't have the Ultimatum, but you want a secondary that can be useful and have some utility. Well, that comes in with the GP31 grenade pistol. This secondary weapon I recommend is pretty good because it fires a single grenade and explodes. It's real simple. Shoots one grenade, you reload it, shoots another. Now, the reason why it's built for utility, it can destroy automaton fabricators, the bulk fabricators, and things along that nature. You just shoot one in there, forget about it, and go on about your business. It's more of a utility weapon if you're going to use it. And last but not least, an honorable mention in my opinion is the P92 Warrant pistol. Now, I know not everybody is trying to run high-risk explosive builds, so if you just want something reliable, easy to use, then this auto-firing pistol is a very solid option. It's simple, it's controllable, and it'll take out the smaller automatons very quickly. It auto-locks on the target, you can just shoot them, they'll die, or you can actually turn that off and just shoot as normal. It's a solid overall, easy pistol to use, not too fancy, nothing too flashy. Next up, let's talk about your throwable slot. When it comes to throwables, there are actually a few strong options. It really just depends on your playstyle and how your overall build is set up. Right now, I personally am running the Thermite. It's incredibly strong, especially against automatons. It's amazing for anti-tank situations, or if you know you just stick it to your targets, it can one-shot Hulks, automaton fabricators, and other heavy enemy units. Just stick it, run away, and you know it's done. It's simple, reliable, and extremely effective. If your squad needs help dealing with those bigger threats like Hulks, it's perfect. Now, another really solid option that not many players are using is the G50 Seeker Grenade. Let's say you don't want your grenades strictly as utility, blowing up factories or heavy units. The Seeker Grenade is fantastic for clearing out those smaller automatons. Throw it in the air, tracks its enemies, splits, blows them up. It's easy, you just throw it. It's used for crowd clearing, in my opinion. Very useful against these smaller automatons, But again, it's going to depend on your build, what you're using for your primary, secondary, and your stratagems. But guys, if I have to recommend one option overall, it would be the TM1 Lore Mine. You can unlock it in the final tier of the Redacted Regiment Warbond. It's a sticky landmine that pulls enemy aggro when deployed. What I found is that if you're ever in a compromising position, you could throw it near yourself or off to the side. Enemies will immediately focus on that as a distraction. It gives you valuable time to reposition, reload, or wipe out all the automatons quickly and safely. On higher difficulties, that small window of time can absolutely save your life. So if I had to rank them for Cyberstan, first, the Lore Mine for survivability and control, second, Thermite for heavy target deletion, and third, the Seeker for crowd clearing. And if you don't have any of these unlocked, just run whatever grenade you want. Positioning, awareness, and teamwork is always better than just a grenade. Now let's move on to everybody's favorites, stratagems, because let's be honest, who doesn't love raining democracy from above? My overall first pick, and honestly my most recommended stratagem for Cyberstan, is the B1 Supply Pack. This backpack gives you 4 extra supply charges that let you refill ammo, stims on Cyberstan. That is absolutely massive. And here's why. You're constantly taking chip damage, you're constantly getting tossed across the map, you're getting hit by lasers halfway across the battlefield, and even if you're playing well, that damage stacks up fast, and eventually you're going to have to burn through stims. On top of that, the weapons I'm running in this build chew through ammo, especially when you're focused on clearing objectives and destroying automaton facilities efficiently as possible. The supply pack keeps you sustained, more stims, more ammo, and more uptime. It also pairs extremely well with your secondary, especially if you're running something like the Ultimatum. It gives you more rounds to deal with, to use automaton fabricators, bulk fabricators, Vox engines, hulks, or just massive hordes of automatons that are trying to push you. If you're playing objective heavy and want consistency, the B1 Supply Backpack is honestly the pinnacle of stratagems on Cyberstan. In my personal opinion, of course. Now let's talk about my second stratagem pick, and the thought process behind it. I'm running the GL21 grenade launcher, and I know some people might disagree with this pick, but for the Cyberstan build, I think it's honestly essential for my build. It's heavy, explosive support weapon that can handle almost everything on the ground, automaton infantry, cyborg units, heavy ground troops, hulks, large striders. Yes, bigger enemies can take a decent amount of ammo, but that's exactly why you're using the supply pack. When things get chaotic and you're surrounded, and when everything starts collapsing, this weapon is your panic button. Spam those grenades and clear the space immediately. But honestly, it's not just for panic situations, because it's incredibly versatile. You can snipe fabricators from a long distance by shooting them directly into the vents, you can destroy statues on Cyberstan quickly and efficiently, and you can clear clustered enemies without exposing yourself. It gives you range, area denial, and objective pressure all in one slot. That versatility is exactly why I picked the grenade launcher for Cyberstan. It's honestly one of my favorite stratagems right now, especially for this build. Now guys, let's move on to the next stratagem, the AMLS 4x Rocket Sentry. This is an explosive semi-automatic sentry that fires rocket-propelled missiles, and it's incredibly useful for anti-tank support. The reason this thing is so strong is simple. It prioritizes the larger enemies. So when you're getting swarmed by cyborgs and agitators and those smaller automatons, which honestly you can clear out with your grenade launcher or your trident or crossbow, whatever primary you're using, your rocket sentry is focusing on the bigger threats such as the hulks, scout striders, war striders, tanks, and Vox engines. It creates some kind of separation from you. It gives you a little bit of breathing room. Instead of trying to juggle between these, shooting small enemies with your primary, switching to your third, and using your heavy on the hulks and stuff like that, you can handle the swarm, and then your sentry will handle the bigger enemies. That synergy right there is absolutely phenomenal. And this is where things get really strong with this build. If you pair the rocket sentry with the TM1 lore mine, the combo is insane. Enemies will aggro onto your lore mine, grouping it and trying to focus on it while your rocket sentry sits back and literally blows up every heavily armored target with ease. You're essentially controlling enemy movement while applying constant pressure. These are the things you have to think about as a veteran seasoned Helldiver. These are the things that are going to help you cluster enemies and kill them efficiently as possible. On higher difficulty operations, especially when you're getting overwhelmed, this combo is a completely lifesaver. It can completely stabilize a fight that would otherwise spiral out of control if you're newer to the game. So when I personally like to use it, I like to treat the rocket sentry as a last-ditch stabilizer kind of thing. If a dropship starts dropping in, that usually means heavy units are about to land right on top of you. We're talking about Vex engines, Striders, tanks, Hulks, all of them. That's when I call it down. It doesn't have an insanely long cooldown timer either, which is great. By the time you're rotating through objectives and clearing the architecture around Cyberstan, it'll often be ready by the time you need it again. Used properly, this thing can absolutely save your life. And once you get comfortable placing in strong positions, you'll start to feel just how powerful the Sentry really is. Now, for my final stratagem slot, I always run some type of orbital cannon or eagle support. This slot is more flexible and depends on what mission you're being thrown at. Most of the time I rotate between the Eagle 500 kg and the Orbital Laser. The 500 kg isn't something I primarily use for Vox engines or heavy units because it cannot one-shot them, so don't even try to waste your stratagem on it. I use it for objectives. If I need to destroy a facility quickly and I don't want to set up a hell bomb or I'm being overrun, I just drop a 500 kg, reposition, and a lot of time you can just throw it, run away safely, and wipe out the entire objective without having to sit and defend that hell bomb. It's quick, efficient, and great for speeding up mission flow, especially when you're trying to clear multiple automaton structures back to back. Now, if we're talking about raw power and stabilization, that's where the Orbital Laser comes in. It's an absolute lifesaver. This thing will destroy Vox engines, melts tanks, obviously Hulks, Striders, things along the larger threats. When everything starts collapsing and you're getting overwhelmed, the Orbital Laser can completely flip the situation in your favor. It'll take down those incoming drop shits and those big heavy units, usually with ease. The only real downside is the cooldown. It's long, and on Cyberstan, I feel like that can be a burden if you use it too early. So you have to be very intentional when using it. Treat it as a fight stabilizer, not something you're just going to throw out and use. The last one I can recommend on Cyberstan specifically is we get in access to the Orbital Gatling Barrage. This one deserves a quick mention. It has heavy armor penetration, lasts for a solid duration, and can shred through larger and smaller automatons. It's a fantastic option when the dropship starts flooding in the area. You just throw it, all the automatons will be demolished by the time it's over. And another stratagem that is an honorable mention for me is now, if you don't run an orbital cannon or an eagle strike at all, the one thing I can highly recommend is the leveler. This thing is extremely strong. It has a very short cooldown timer. It can obviously take anything down from tanks, Vox engines, and big structures. In some cases, you might need to follow up a few shots with your ultimatum sidearm, but overall, it's quick, efficient, and reliable. If you don't like waiting for long orbital cooldowns, the leveler is a great alternative that keeps that heavy kill pressure in your hands instead of relying on a orbital stratagem. Now, with all this being said, this is my loadout. This is my personal favorite setup that I've been running on Cyberstan, and it's been keeping me alive. I've even managed to pull off a couple flawless solo runs on Super Helldive with this build. Now, listen guys, I understand this might not be the absolute best setup in the game, and definitely not going to fit everybody's playstyle, but once again, this is just my opinion. I wanted to give you guys some real insight on how I approach the map, how I break down threats on Cyberstan, and how I build survivability and objective pressure. There are plenty of other weapons and strategies that probably work even better than the ones I'm giving you right now. But once again, get out there, try different combinations, find out what works for you guys. And most importantly, do your part for democracy. Get out there, kill some clankers, spill some oil, and always remember the creek. My name is Saucy Surge. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you think I missed something or you think you got better strategies or stratagems, drop them down in the comments below because I would love to hear what you guys are running. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. Take care, and God bless Helldivers.